Welcome to another video lesson. In this lesson, we will discuss about the different contract types and contracting strategies. Now, here we have the project phases like project initiation, project planning, project execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. And during planning phase, we do the project, we plan the procurement management. We create a procurement management plan during the planning phase. Then during execution phase, we really conduct procurements, and monitoring and controlling phase of the project, we monitor and control procurements, because sometimes some of the procurement items can be long lead items. If these items doesn't happen on time, or you don't receive it on time, then the project can slip. So throughout the project, we should closely monitor and control procurements. There can be quality issues, there can be schedule issues, there can be cost issues, there can be supplier chain disruptions due to external factors or internal factors, payment issues. So we have to continuously monitor and control our procurement activities. So during planning time, we do the procurement management plan. During execution, we really implement that plan. That means we get into procurement related activities. And monitoring and controlling, we control the procurement activities. And while closing the project, very often the procurement closing may extend even after the formal closure of the project, because sometimes there can be litigations. So formal closure is required for our contracts to the suppliers as well. So very often the procurement team will continue working even after the formal closure of the project. Then see, this is the ecosystem. So we have the project. So we are looking at things from a project manager's perspective. So we are the contractors. In this exercise, we consider ourselves as a contractor's project manager. And on the one side, we have the buyer who gave us the order. And on the other side, we have to procure things from the sellers. So on both sides, so here we sign a contract with the buyer. Here also we sign contracts with the sellers. So we have to manage these two aspects. One side, we have the customer, contracts with the customer, that has to be managed well. And on the other side, we are signing contracts with the seller. Why it should be managed? Because there can be changes, there can be delays, there can be penalty clauses, there can be market condition changes like a COVID, which can disrupt the supply chains. So this has to be continuously managed. So as a contractor's project manager, on the one side, we have the buyer, and sometimes we have project management consultants appointed by the buyer. So we have to deal with them as well for procurement later. So we have a contract signed between the buyer and the contractor. And on the other side, there are contracts signed between the contractor and other sellers like the subcontractors, suppliers, etc. So these two must be managed, efficiently planned and executed, monitored and controlled and closed formally, so that the project can happen without much delays. Now, here are the basic types of contracts. The first type is fixed price or lump sum contracts. That means the buyer floats a request for proposals, and you submit a proposal, and you get the project, and it's a fixed price contract. That means if you complete the work in less than the quoted price, then you will make a profit. Otherwise, the seller can make a loss. In all fixed price contracts, the cost risk is high for the seller because the buyer knows exactly how much he has to spend, whereas the seller, if the actual cost of the project exceeds the quoted price, then the seller can make a loss in all fixed price contract. So the cost risk is high for the seller in fixed price contracts. And we have the variations of fixed price contracts. We have firm fixed price. That is just one amount. You submit a proposal for X dollars or X rupees, and if you complete the work in less than X rupees, you make a profit. But if the actual cost goes beyond X rupees, then you make a loss. That is firm fixed price. Then we have fixed price with incentives, that is FPIF. That means in case you complete the project ahead of schedule, you get the fixed price. On top of it, you get some incentives. Or if you complete the project with good quality, then you are rewarded with the fixed price agreed upon, and on top of it, you get some incentives as well. So another variant of fixed price is fixed price with incentive fee. Then another variant of fixed price is we have fixed price with economic price adjustment, that is FPEPA. In highly fluctuating markets, if the currency rates are fluctuating, or if the steel prices are fluctuating heavily, then we go with this type of contracts, that is fixed price with economic price adjustment, FPEPA. If the contract is for a very long time, it runs for years, then very often we go with the FPEPA type of contracts because raw material fluctuations can happen, cement rate fluctuations can happen, exchange rates can fluctuate, oil prices can fluctuate, steel prices can fluctuate. In such cases, we sign fixed price with economic price adjustment. For a contract, if it has to be successful, the buyer should be able to afford the prices. At the same time, the seller should make, or the contractor should make reasonable profit out of it. Otherwise, the project will be impacted. So we have cases where the supplier went bankrupt, and because of that, the project got delayed by months. So we have to ensure that it is a win-win situation between the buyer and the contractor and the subcontractor and the sellers. If any of these things gets disrupted, then that will have a major impact on the project. So here the key takeaway is all fixed price contract, the cost risk is on the seller. The seller can make a profit or a loss. The buyer's liability is limited to the quoted price, whereas the seller can either make a profit or a loss by getting into a fixed price or a lump sum contract. Most of the IT projects are lump sum. You quote a price, and if you can complete it below that, you make a profit. But if the actual cost surpasses the quoted amount, then you make a loss. So the cost risk for all fixed price contracts is with the seller. Then we have cost reimbursable contract. That means whatever cost you incur, that will be reimbursed to you. There are three variants of it. That is cost plus fixed fee contracts. So all your cost will be met, and on top of it, you get a fixed fee. Most of the consulting assignments or training assignments, it falls into this category. Whenever we travel to a new country where you're not very sure about the expenses, then always it is better to sign a cost plus fixed fee contract because the entire cost is borne by the owner, and every day you get X dollar as the fixed fee. So then as a seller, you will never make a loss in a cost reimbursable contracts. So one of the variants of cost reimbursable contract is the cost plus fixed fee. You get the flight ticket, you get the accommodation, you get the airport pickup and drop, you get all the breakfast, all the food is covered, the local transport is covered, visa processing is covered, and on top of it, you get X dollar. So you never make a loss as a supplier or a contractor or a subcontractor if the contract type is cost reimbursable contract. But if you go there for a 5-day assignment and the assignment extends to 10 days, in that case, the buyer will have to spend more money. So in all cost reimbursable contract, the cost risk is with the buyer. I'm talking about only the cost risk. Okay, there are other risks are still with the seller. Cost risks are high on the buyer in the all cost reimbursable contract. Then other variants of cost reimbursable contracts are we have cost plus incentive fee. In case if the quality of the deliverable is very good, or if you deliver it on time, or if your training programs are attended by more than 15 people, you get some additional incentives. That is cost plus, that is an example of cost plus incentive fee, CPIF. Then cost plus award fee. Again, it is an advance is given to you. So the moment you land in that country, you get maybe $5,000 as an advance, and followed by on a day-to-day basis, the cost is reimbursed to you. So that is a slight variant of cost plus incentive fee. Here you get a advance, that is advance or award. So that is known as CPAF. Then we have time and material contracts. So in contracts where the scope is not very clear, then we go with time and material. So based on the time you spend and the material you spend, the buyer will reimburse you. That is time and material contract. In time and material contracts, the contractor will not make a loss because it is reimbursed by the buyer. Then we have purchase order. Purchase order is also a type of contract. This is primarily for off-the-shelf items. You're buying the item straight away from the shop. That is, you want 100 laptops, or you want 100 bags of cement, or you need 100 tons of steel. That is purchase order. It is a standard item purchased across the counter. Then it is a purchase order. Then we have this unit price also. In some projects, the nature of work is homogeneous. For example, if you're constructing a new road, then we can always calculate it as a cost per square meter. That is a unit price, cost price, or cost per unit square meter. And similarly, we have unit price. We have for buildings. Sorry. We have unit price, that is cost per square meter kind of thing, or cost per we are here. Okay. So if you are constructing a new road, it is cost per kilometer. If you are doing a new house, it is cost per square feet. So as and when you complete a square feet or a square or a kilometer of the road, then you get paid for that. That is unit pricing. Then another type of contract is guaranteed minimum price, that is GMP. It is a kind of cost plus, or it's kind of unit price. So here what happens is, now let us say you go with a time and material type of a contract, then we say till it is $10,000. So I'll keep paying you 10,000 up to $10,000 on a time and material mode. You pay the you show the timesheets, and then you get paid till 10,000, and whatever cost that is going beyond this 10,000, that has to be borne by the supplier or the contractor. So till 10,000, the buyer will pay, and anything that is above 10,000, the contractor or the seller must pay, kind of thing. That is guaranteed maximum price, GMP. And now let us take a look at the different types of bid documents. Different types of bid documents. The first one is request for information. You want to collect more details about a particular item, then you can just request for information. There is no legal binding. You just request for information, and the potential sellers will provide you with that information. Then we have request for quotation, that is RFQ. This is again basically for this is for standard items. You request for quotation for 1,000 liters of paint, or 100 tons of steel, or material for furnishing. That is request for quotation, standard items. Then we have requests for proposals. This is for one buyer, one seller. Then we raise a request for proposal. Then we have requests for bid. That is for mega projects where a consortium of companies is quoting. That is request for bid. Maybe a new airport or a new seaport. It is not, or a new national highway or a new metro rail project. It is not done by one single entity. Multiple companies with diverse core skills, they come together, they form a consortium, and then they quote. That is request for bids. In order to do all these things, the first one is the statement of work, that is the SOW, and sometimes it is also known as terms of reference. Then we have something called letter of intent. That means it is a 80% or 90% probability kind of an order, and you raise a letter of intent. That means I intend to buy it from you. You please don't deploy your resources onto some other project. This is almost maybe 80 to 90% probability order kind of thing. But again, the problem with letter of intent is there is no legal binding. So even after issuing a letter of intent, the buyer issues you a letter of intent. And later on, if it doesn't give the actual contract to you, you cannot sue him. It doesn't have any legal binding. Then we have contract. In contracts, there are at least two parties involved, a buyer and a seller, and all the contract requirements must be met, and all the changes to the contract must be in writing. So this is a document with legal binding. If contracts are conditions are not met, the parties can sue or take it to the court. So it's never start a high value project without a valid contract. So because later on you can be in trouble. As discussed before, contracts can be between the contractor and the buyer, or it can be between the contractor and the seller, contractor and the suppliers, kind of. Then let us take a look at the different types of procurement strategies. The first one is the design build. That means let's say I need a new house, and I identify a contractor who can design the house for me and build it as well. So it is a contract given for both the design and building of it. That is design and build, both done by the same entity or contractor. Another strategy is design, bid, build. Here, the contractor will design the house, and I give weightages for the design. And for that design, he'll bid. For the bid also, I'll give weightages. Then if I approve both the design and the bid, he will build it for me. That is design, bid, and build. So I can compare the designs of multiple contractors. I can compare the cost against those designs of multiple contractors. Then I can evaluate the build criteria, then award the contract. That is design, build, bid, and build. Then another strategy is design, build, and operate. That is DBO. First, a contractor can design, build it, and operate it for some time. And then the ownership will come to me. Basically, highways, bridges with the toll and all those things comes under design, build, and operate. They operate for some time. And then during that operation time, if there are any errors and all, then that they will fix it at their cost, and then they transfer it to me. Then another variant is build, operate, and transfer. So this is exactly applicable for national highways with a toll or a bridge with toll kind of thing. So the contractor will build it, operate it for some years. They can take and then transfer to me. Then build, own, operate, and transfer, that is boot. Means they build it, they own it, they operate it for a longer time as an owner. They can take the rewards from it. And after that, after the fixed period, they transfer it. That is boot. So for anything which has a toll associated, it can be any of these three. Maybe the perfect one is the last one, that is build, own, operate, and transfer. So these are the procurement strategies. So based on these procurement strategies, if you see the last two, build, operate, and transfer, that means the design is given to them. They don't do the design. Here also the design is given to them. They don't do the design. So the design is done by a third-party consultant, and that design is given to them, and they should build it according to the design. Here in these three, the supplier can design the building as well, whereas the last two, the design is given to them. So this, based on this, who does the design, who does the product breakdown structure, who does the work breakdown structure, who does the independent estimate. So if it is build, operate, and transfer, and build, operate, or build, own, operate, and transfer, it is very clear that there is another agency who does the design and its approval and does the independent estimate, so that when contractors submit their proposal, those proposals are evaluated against that independent estimates. Now, when we deal with international contracts, there are standard contract guidelines are available. There are various agencies providing with these international contract guidelines and templates. These templates, the screenshot I took from FIDIC, FIDIC, that is an agency well known in international contracts. So if you are party to an international contract, you can always, instead of reinventing the wheel, you can always get these templates and start using them, which will help us to save a lot of time, and it is kind of captures the collective wisdom of so many experts. Now, see, whatever we discussed so far, it's all fine with the traditional project management, basically for EPC project or construction project. But when it comes to new product development, see now, this is an area where we start with a new product. Initially we get some tech enthusiasts to use it. Then the visionaries start using it. So here we have the minimum viable product ready. So here all these fixed price contracts will not work. Maybe cost reimbursable with the upper ceiling, or just cost reimbursable contracts. That is what is really required while doing this minimum viable product. Because in this phase, if you sign a fixed price contract, that itself will act as a constraint for agility. Then here, from here on, we know that the product is going to be successful because we have this many users, around 15% of the potential users working on it. Now we are looking for the early majority. So we extend the product further. So this phase, we can even try with fixed price or cost reimbursable with a upper ceiling that is ideal during this phase. So when the scope is not clear, we cannot go with the fixed price contracts. But the moment there is clarity on scope, then it is better. Then, okay, maybe we can try with fixed price contracts. So early in a new product development, when the product is in minimum viable product stage, fixed price will not work. It has to be cost reimbursable or time and material or cost reimbursable with a upper limit. Whereas once the product matures, the rest of the product can be fixed price also. Yeah, so in the early stages of the product, in most of the agile projects or new product development, it is better to go with target price or guaranteed maximum price. Means you have a target cost. So this is the cost you agree between the buyer and the seller. And anything additional to this, if the actual cost is something goes beyond this target cost, then that is shared between the buyer and the seller. So if the actual cost is below the target cost and still if we complete, then the savings are also shared. The savings are also shared between the buyer and the seller. So this is a good model for most of the agile projects where we develop new products. Thank you very much. So I presume that you have understood the buyer, the owner, the contractor, the subcontractor, or the suppliers, different types of contract types like fixed price, cost reimbursable, time and material, and their variants, and different contracting strategies like build, operate, and transfer, build, operate, own, and transfer kind of strategies, and then kind of strategy for agile product development, contracting strategy for agile product development as well. So thank you very much.